Fee, how you doing,
Hey,
buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
It looks like you just woke up. I like scared you or something. You
No,
ready? Big show today. Obviously, the rankings. We're doing our player rankings coming up. Uh,
we yeah, we are. I saw some of your rankings and I'm a little intrigued by them.
I think we're gonna have some words, especially who you have number one in the quarterbacking area.
Me or you?
You, you, you,
Me.
you have my buddy as number one.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you see the other? Obviously, my buddy's Josh Allen. You see the other Josh Allen, the defender on the Jaguars, changed his name. I guess because people were confusing a 7-foot linebacker that sacks people for a quarterback. He's now Joshua Hines Allen.
No,
Uh,
I didn't see that.
yeah, yeah. It just goes to show that Josh Allen truly is elite when he's making defensive linemen with his own name. Welcome back to Three and Out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the greatest fantasy football show on turf. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, I'm Wayne Cavati. It's the Three and Out podcast. We have a very special episode. We are going to look about 2-3 weeks out of the fantasy football draft season starting. So we're going to give you our player projections. And as you can see, my normal co-hosts are here, but so is the godfather of fantasy football and our podcast host, Jeff DiMatteo. Jeff, no, that's you. That's you. I promise. That's you.
Oh, you
uh,
said The Godfather, and I was like, yo, I don't know who that is. I don't know. I got to go find that guy. So,
uh, Welcome back to the show. It's good to see you again.
yeah, man, it's great to see you guys. I'm happy to be back. It's been a bit, getting geared up for the season, and I can't wait to poke some fun at some of the rankings here, and I'm sure I'll catch a little bit of flack for some of mine, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Now, as Dutton and Fee, before we get to before we get to you guys, they know that we just did our Scott Fishbowl draft.
Yep.
And guess who I drew in week one, gentlemen?
That guy.
Of course, it's Jeff.
That guy.
I'm sure.
So
sure
we got a Gridiron Ratings showdown in week one. Fee, welcome back. How you doing? Are you ready for Fanduel or what?
I'm good. Am I ready for Fanduel? Not entirely. I'm still trying to gear up for season long fantasy. First for drafts and that sort of stuff. So I'll get into Fanduel in a bit though.
Yeah, and Dutton, how's it going over there in North Carolina?
It's good. I mean, fantasy is exciting, and we're months away from drafting, so that's always fun. So that means I'm 28 days away from figuring out what I'm doing. So.
Right. There you go. So, normally this is going to just be a little bit different a show because we really want to dig into the players and everything. And normally we have our 4 sections of the show, buy it and BS, and then Fanduel fees, projections, and our locks of the week. Obviously, we're not going to do any of that because, well, there's none of that going on right now. So there's not much to talk about. So we're going to jump into our player rankings. And what we're going to do is, as always, we always focus on the offensive side of things on this show. We're going to look at quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. We're going to look at the top 12 because there's usually 12 teams in a league. And that's how we're going to do things. Each of us are going to talk about our own rankings. We're going to discuss our 3 and Out composite rankings when we're out after that. And as you know, if you're our loyal listeners, me, Dutton, and Fee kind of threw darts, and Jeff used a lot of algorithms and smart stuff, and probably is a lot more closer to what you should actually listen to than we will be. One more thing before we get started, we're going to start with quarterbacks. Just so you know, we're kind of using the 3 of our fantasy football league scoring. And so when we're talking about quarterbacks, it's going to be 1 point for every 25 yards passing, 1 point for every 10 yards rushing, 6 points for any touchdown rushing or throwing, and then -3, which we finally moved in our league, -3 for an interception or a fumble. So with that in mind, Fee, we're going to go to you. Who is your number 1 quarterback for fantasy football? And I don't know why I'm starting with you because it's an atrocious pick, but go ahead and give it to us.
Yeah, no, I'm starting with Josh Allen, and really it's just because you hate him.
That's good enough reason. Dutton, what do you think?
I like Fee's reasoning, but I'm gonna try to have some sort of a brain in my head, and I'm gonna go with Patrick Mahomes because it's really hard to not pick Patrick Mahomes, and I think this year there's going to be better wide receiver weapons for the Chiefs, which means even more fantasy goodness, as Fee says, for one Patrick Mahomes.
No, I like Mahomes this year. I actually have him at number 2. I almost had him at number 1, but I went with Jalen Hurts. And I know that's going to be met with skepticism. I also think I'm still kind of in Scott Fishbowl mode because Jalen Hurts was probably the clear cut number 1 in that scoring. But I just think with his rushing, that he's number 1. Fee, what is it about, before we go to Jeff and his answer, what is it about Josh Allen? Because I have question marks about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously a lot talks about Josh Allen. He lost Diggs, but he did pick up a few other receivers in the offseason. I like that. I like what?
Our favorite wide receiver drafted in the 2nd round.
Oh, who, Keon Coleman?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about Stonehands. I thought you were talking about Stonehands because he got MVS, who can't catch a cold. Never mind a football. Go ahead, Fee.
I don't know. I just believe in Josh Allen. I just think that he may even run the ball more often if that's even possible for him. I just think that he's a good fantasy.
Yeah. Jeff, do you want to chime in with your number 1? Because I've seen your number 1, and I might hate it more than Josh Allen, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, here's the thing. I particularly love it either, but I just do what the machine tells me to.
Yeah.
And I'm here for Dak Prescott QB1 season.
Wow.
And I know that's getting wild here, right? So here's the big picture. Big picture is that Dallas isn't better on defense. They're not stopping anybody. We've already alluded to what Jalen Hurts does with Philadelphia. They're stronger now with Saquon Barkley. They're a team that can go up and down the field at will. You've got the New York Giants. You add Malik Neighbors. I'm not sold on Danny Dimes. We know that, but there's a lot of interesting playmakers there all the same. Keep an eye on Theo Johnson there. You go to Washington, add a playmaker at quarterback. That division can score points now. The number 1 wide receiver in football, save Justin Jefferson. CeeDee Lamb was the guy in fantasy number 1 last year, right? You got the number 1 guy there. You got Brandon Cooks as a 6-time 1,000-yard receiver. Yeah. And a premium number 2 fantasy asset that is going in the 10th and 11th round, and a very serviceable tight end. Dak Prescott is going to throw the ball over 600 times, and he's going to be in a position to pile up yards, pile up touchdowns. I think Dak and CeeDee, you can just go ahead and pen them into the number 1 spots.
Yeah. I mean, you got to love CeeDee Lamb. We'll get to the wide receivers, of course, shortly. Fee, why don't you talk us through your number 2 through 5, and we'll take a little break and then go to Dutton.
Yeah, so my number 2 is Lamar Jackson, and I think it's for the obvious reasons. Again, it's a lot of his running ability, and I also think having Derrick Henry there is going to open up a lot of lanes for him, right? They don't throw the ball a ton, and they don't really have a whole lot of guys to throw the ball to, save Mark Andrews, right? But I just like the idea of Derrick Henry kind of taking off or taking a lot of the defense's attention off of Lamar and him being able to run the ball into open space more often than not. So that's my number 2. I have Mahomes at number 3. You had mentioned him or Dutton had as his number 1, but Mahomes is my number 3. Jalen Hurts is my number 4. You mentioned how much you like him, and I have Joe Burrow at number 5 just because I believe that he's going to have a big comeback season.
Dutton, how about your 2 through 5?
I have Joe Burrow as my number 2 because he's going to have a big comeback season, and I have Jamar Chase as my number 1 wide receiver because Joe Burrow is going to have a big comeback season. I have Dak Prescott as my number 3 because, like Jeff said, the Cowboys are going to throw the ball 1 million times this season, and Dak Prescott's pretty good at doing that. Even if we don't like him, he's pretty good at it. I have Josh Allen at my number 4 because I think they're going to be hurt by some of their losses on offense. And I have Jordan Love at my number 5 because I think the Packers are going to be one of the most exciting offenses in football this
year. Yeah. Before I say mine, Jeff, I believe who now joined Gridiron Ratings, Jordan Vanek, doesn't he have Jamar Chase at number 1 going into the season, I think.
He's got Jamar Chase as his number 1. And yeah, all of Jordan's DFS content, wide receiver content is going to be on gridironratings.com this year.
Yeah, that's huge. So yeah, that goes with your Burrow, and it will go with mine too. So after Hurts, I had Mahomes at number 2. I don't really need to explain it because you guys did. If you look at the chart, I have in parentheses a healthy Burrow. Obviously, that's always been the story, but Joe Mixon's not there, and Burrow can scramble a little. I'm not saying he's going to be Lamar Jackson, but he can move, and I'm kind of with you on Jamar Chase. He's just got that. If CeeDee Lamb's 1A, then Jamar Chase is really close 1B. I did go with Dak at number 4, and I did go with Josh Allen at number 5, for all pretty much the reasons you said. Dalton Kincaid is probably the best receiver. We haven't seen Keenan Coleman yet. Not every rookie wide receiver blows off the page. So Dalton Kincaid is probably the best best target he has. And that's scary for a guy, but he did have 15 touchdowns rushing last year. So that's also not scary for a guy. Jeff, you want to go with your 2 through 5?
Sure. Yeah. So number 2, Josh Allen. I don't love it, but we'll come back to him in a second. CJ Stroud, number 3. Just too many weapons. I'm not drafting the weapons. I'm just going to draft the quarterback if I can and be done. Patrick Mahomes at 4. A lot of positive game scripts. I think Pacheco is going to be more of a factor. They're running the ball late than people realize. And then number 5 is Jordan Love. I'm right there. There's not an alpha dog there in Green Bay, but Jordan Love has shown he spreads the ball around really well, and he can just go to whoever's open. And Josh Jacobs brings a different dimension than Aaron Jones did. He's more of a player that's not descending the way Aaron Jones was. He's definitely going to bring a lot more power running, especially in short yardage. The real question mark here, and even me, Josh Allen number 2, it's not with a lot of confidence that I say that. It's really hard to replicate double-digit, rushing touchdown seasons as a quarterback, especially when they've paid him. They're not interested in seeing him get hurt.
Yeah.
They don't want to see him slamming into defensive linemen or linebackers. I love Dalton Kincaid this year. You're going to see them in a lot of 12. They're thin at wide receiver. Khalil Shakir, he's not it. I love him at Boise State, but he's more of a specialist. You've got some of the other guys there. Keon Coleman needs a little bit of development. It's going to be Kincaid. And don't be shocked to see 2 tight ends do really well in Buffalo this year. Dawson Knox is still a player.
Yeah.
And then James Cook could be a factor too. So, but you need a lot to go right for him to be number 2. It wouldn't shock me if he was number 12.
Yeah. Yeah. So Fee, wrap up your list. Go from 6 to 12 now.
So after I had recap, I had Lamar, Mahomes, Hurts, Burrow, and then 6 I have Anthony Richardson, 7 I have Dak, CJ Stroud at 8, Tua at 9, Kyler at 10, Jordan Love at 11, and Jaden Daniels at 12.
You do love some Jaden Daniels. We talked about Daniels last episode. You're really high on him. His running game is there. We're gonna see what he's all about when it comes to the passing game. That's for sure.
He's got some weapons on offense too.
I know. Go ahead, say it. Say who he has. I know you want to throw it out there.
Harry McLaurin.
There it is. Your boy. Dutton, 6 through 12.
I'm sorry. You mean McLaurin F1? Scary Terry?
Terry.
Let's drop some nicknames here. Come on now.
After Jordan Love, I had CJ Stroud, Hurts, really quick, Lamar Jackson. I have him further down because I think Derrick Henry actually hurts Lamar Jackson, especially inside the red zone where Lamar Jackson won't run the ball, because why would they get Lamar Jackson hurt and just not pound Derrick Henry up the middle, right? That's why he's there. I don't think Derrick Henry's going to touch the ball a lot in between the 10s. I think he's a 10-yard in guy, right? He could end up with 7 touchdowns this year and 94 yards. He could be the new Mike Allstott. So after Lamar, I have Richardson, Stafford, Tua, and I like Jared Goff. I think the Lions offense, I think, it's hard not to have Jared Goff in our top 12 based on scoring. And if the Lions are going to be an offensive weapon, Jared Goff needs to score touchdowns. So
I'll give you my thoughts on that after my 6 through 12 real quick. So I had Josh Allen at number 5. Then I went CJ Stroud. I went Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, Tua, Brock Purdy. Okay. I feel like if you remember, it was our second season, and you two left Tom Brady out of your top 12 in our player ratings, and I had him at like number 5, and I couldn't figure out how you. That's how I feel with Kirk Cousins. Neither of you had Kirk Cousins in your list. If he's healthy with all the weapons he has, like I don't know why you wouldn't have him. I'm low on Anthony Richardson, and the primary reason has nothing to do with stats, has nothing to do with talent. I hated when he said, "I'm not changing the way I play." Because the way he played got him hurt twice in 5 weeks and done for the year. Now, just to touch on you with Jared Goff, Dutton, my thing is they have Gibbs and Montgomery, and they are 2 very good running backs. So everybody's got to touch the ball in that offense. Do I think Jared Goff is really good? Yes. Do I think he's kind of what he was last year and the year before? I don't know. So I'd have him.
Rich Gannon, 2002 Oakland Raiders. Rich Gannon.
Nice. Now, before we go to Jeff to round it out, let's let him make fun of our composite. So if we take the composite and of what Dutton, Fee, and I did for our 3 and out ratings, he has his own gridiron rating. So these are the 3 and out ratings. It will look like this. Patrick Mahomes is actually number 1. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Dak, Lamar, Stroud, Hurts, Love, Richardson, Tua, Purdy, and Stafford. And I think you two are going to regret not having Kirk Cousins in there. Jeff, we'll let you talk on the quarterback. So go ahead.
Actually, I think that composite's pretty good, but here's my 6 through 12, and then we'll kind of shoot through them.
Okay.
So Kirk Cousins is my 6. When you said Kirk Cousins, it like be still my heart because all this guy does is get yards and touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is 7. The Eagles offense adds Saquon. They're going to run a bit more, I think, and you're going to see some of that, and it could take away some of that passing production. Baker Mayfield is next up. Here's the deal. Baker's had a resurgence. They gave him the contract. They believe in him down there, and they've replaced Dave Canales with another guy who can coach up quarterbacks. Here's the deal. It won't be the Mike Evans show. Chris Godwin show. Mark it down. He's going back to the slot, and we're going to see a lot more of the Godwin we saw about 3 years ago when he was just piling up catches. Keep an eye on it. Brock Purdy at 9, Joe Burrow at 10, Lamar Jackson at 11, and then here's the one that's going to cause everyone to throw their papers in the air. I've got Bryce Young at number 12.
What do you think about that, Dutton, in your backyard?
I think look, man looks at statistics and he puts into things. Bryce Young looked like a middle schooler walking into training camp yesterday. Did you all see that picture? Did you see the picture of him with his backpack? Oh, here I go to my bad team.
He looked the same way at Alabama. And you know what he did there? He just won a bunch of games. Pretty sure he got a national title to his credit.
I don't know. Look, I think it's not his fault. I think he's on a team that is not going to help him very much. But more than
his team got way better last year. That's why he was so bad, but at least they got him some weapons this year. And of course, he's got the great D2 legend Adam Thielen to throw it to, so he should be just fine.
It's a weird way to say Deontay Johnson, but okay.
Well, yeah, he's there too. And I like Corey, what's his name? Corey Leggett, right? Is that who they drafted?
Xavier Leggett.
Xavier Leggett. Yeah, who's Corey Leggett? Did he play? He was on Duke, I think.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, wasn't he like a swingman for Duke?
Yeah. But yeah, Leggett gives great interviews, man. So I hope he's good at wide receiver because I could watch that guy talk on the post-game show all day long. So yeah, those are our quarterbacks. I think we all definitely have some intriguing ones. The Baker Mayfield at number 8 and Bryce Young definitely stand out, but I don't think they're crazy, especially the way quarterback play. I mean, what have we seen? 68 quarterbacks 2 years ago, 66 last year. Like whoever stays healthy is going to be a top 12. So let's look at that. But let's move on to running backs. Fee. Oh yeah. So for running backs, let's go back to our scoring system that we're going to be using, and it's pretty much your traditional running back scoring system, and it's 1 point for every 10 yards rushing or receiving, 1 point per reception, 6 points for a touchdown, and -2 points for a turnover, a fumble, or if they get lucky enough to throw a pass, not a good one. That would be. So, Fee, we started with you last time. Dutton, who is your number 1 running back heading into the 2024 fantasy football season?
All right. So I read this interesting stat and doing some research when I was vacationing in Disney World last week. the 50 running backs in the 32 team era that okay, we're going to start. After those running backs have turned 27, only 8 of them have had better years, and Christian McCaffrey is 28. So I have Breece Hall as my number 1.
Okay. I like that one because that's who I took with my first pick in Scott Fishbowl. Fee.
So I have Christian McCaffrey as my number 1, just for obvious reasons. I think that the San Francisco offense should still run through him. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't.
Yeah, I do, because I think he's going to play 3 games this year. So I have.
I don't think he's gonna
that's
play.
tough. That's tough to
I think he's gonna play 3 games. I think
you got some sort of crystal ball back there.
Well, the
I think
last
he's
time
gonna
he
be
led the
crap.
league in touches, he played 2 or 3 games and missed the season. I mean, he touched the ball a lot last year in an era where running backs are not touching the ball a lot anymore, you know,
Right, and he's over 27.
Yeah, right. Forever 27. I'm going with Jeff, who you had number 1 going into last year, if I remember correctly, but I have Bijan Robinson at my number 1 running back this year. Jeff, who's your number 1?
I'm going to the Lions. You talked about Goff before. I went Jahmyr Gibbs here. Gibbs really found his footing in the back half of last year. He catches passes and he's quick enough. Go back and watch the Alabama footage. The guy is excellent inside the 5. A lot like Alvin Kamara. That was actually my comp there. That guy is going to see a lot more touches inside the 5 and 10, a lot more receptions, and give them to me.
All right. So our number 1s are Bijan, Hall, CMC, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Dutton, let's go 2 through 5 for you.
So I see him. I don't think these are going to be pretty shocking. CMC, Bijan, Jonathan Taylor needs to protect Anthony Richardson. Jonathan Taylor, to your point, Wayne, Anthony Richardson said he's not changing the way he plays, but the play calling can change.
Yeah.
So that can change the way the quarterback plays. And then I have Isaiah Pacheco, and that's my top 5. Yes.
Fee.
So my number 2 is Bijan Robinson. Then I'm going to Breece Hall, and I think that's pretty standard for 1 through 3 there. Yeah. I got Jonathan Taylor at 4. I got Jahmyr Gibbs at 5.
And then I have Breece Hall at number 2, Jahmyr Gibbs at number 3, Saquon at number 4. And I think I have Etienne really high because I think he's getting a lot of the touchdowns this year. I don't know that he's going to be Mr. Yardage, but I think he's going to get a lot of the touchdowns. So that's my 2 through 5. And Jeff, to you.
Well, we're about to get weird again. So number 2, I've got Bijan. That can be expected, right? I think he and Gibbs are really interchangeable at the top. But I've got James Cook at number 3. There's not that elite receiving threat. We've already discussed that. James Cook is going to be in line for more wheel routes and some more carries, hopefully near the goal line to preserve Josh Allen. Kyren Williams for the Rams. I've got him in the 4th spot, and then I have Breece Hall at 5. Kyren Williams, man, we've got to be talking about this guy. You're talking about a Rams offense that they're going to go vertical with Puka and Kupp and Stafford. You can't put 6, 7, 8 guys in the box. He's going against soft boxes every week. That's a lot of yards per game. All he has to do is stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about Kyren Williams right here. We all have him coming up, but there's no one else back there with him, right? Do they have anyone else?
They drafted Blake Corum out of Michigan.
Oh, yeah,
there's a lot
right.
of draft nicks out there that are saying, yeah, he's going to eat into those carries. Not so fast. His own coach passed on him, 4 times before he was selected, or 5 times before the Rams took him. Blake Corum's a nice player, good college player. He's going to be a nice complement to Kyren Williams. He does a lot of the same things very well. When Kyren needs to blow, they can bring in Corum and not lose a ton. That's not a threat to his touches. It's going to be the guy that's just there to spell him. So I'm not even remotely worried about Blake Corum.
Yeah. All right, Dutton, close it out for you. Go 6 through 12.
All right. I had Pacheco, so the rest of them: Gibbs, Barkley, A-Chain, Derrick Henry. I think he's going to be a goal line vulture machine. Josh Jacobs, Jeff mentioned him before. I think he's in a good spot in Green Bay. Walker and James Cook, because I think he becomes the highlight of the Bills offense.
B.
All right, at 6, I actually have Kyron Williams. At 7, Saquon. 8, I have Travis Etienne. 9, Derrick Henry. 10, Pacheco. 11, A-Chain. And 12, I have Joe Mixon.
All right. And then mine, close it out. Two of these I really don't like, but I felt like I had to put them there. This is one of them. CMC at 6, Jonathan Taylor at 7, Derrick Henry is the other one I don't like at number 8. I'm worried about his workload. I have Kyron Williams at 9, A-Chain at 10, and I can see both of them jumping up this list quickly. And then I got Pacheco and Jacobs. With James Cook, I put right there with Jacobs because I couldn't decide who rounded out my top 12. So before, again, like we did last time, before we go to Jeff, let's do our composite 3 and out running back top 12. And that would look like Bijan, Brees, Christian McCaffrey, Gibbs, Saquon, Derrick Henry, Taylor, Pacheco, Etienne, A-Chain, Kyron Williams, and then Josh Jacobs and James Cook both tied with the same amount of points to get them that number 12 spot. Jeff, to you.
My 6 through 12 is not too crazy, but you're going to notice a couple of guys that are left out completely. Number 6, Jonathan Taylor. Number 7, Josh Jacobs. Number 8, Travis Etienne. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, wait. Number 8 is Isaiah Pacheco. Number 9, Travis Etienne. Number 10, Devon Achane. Number 11, oh, I hate this one, Austin Eckler. Number 12, Rashad White.
So it's funny because you were completely out on Eckler last year, and now he's in your top 12.
Yeah, I was.
It's the projections.
So here's the thing. It's going to be a function of the offense, right? Teams are going to have to start keying on the running quarterback. Somebody have to be that guy in the backfield. They didn't go sign Eckler because they had a ton of faith in Brian Robinson. It bothers me that they didn't stick with Robinson. I thought he played really well last year. He quits himself really well in the passing game. But for them to go out and spend even $4 million on another running back, a veteran at that has known pass catching chops, that can go between the tackles and can do work near the goal line, it tells me that they plan on featuring that guy a little bit, just trying to read the tea leaves, right? And Washington's probably going to be better on offense than we think, just because that rushing dimension that Jaden Daniels offers. It's going to make teams spy and run zone, and they're going to have to play back a little bit. Opens up the box for easy 4 and 5 yard carries for Eckler.
And you have no CMC and no Derrick Henry at all. Is that what you guys?
That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was the one thing I noticed was that Christian McCaffrey was not in that top 12 at all.
He made it to 13. So here's the deal. Dutton already alluded to the 27-year-old thing. I do a lot of research and studying on running back workload, how it impacts their body, how it combines with things like age and all this other stuff. When a running back achieves a certain level of workload on their body, they begin to break down. And when I say break down, efficiency metrics start to drop, and it sees, their fantasy production falls off kind of a cliff. We used to always say, 30-year-old running backs, avoid them. It's not 30-year-old running backs. When a guy achieves what I call a workload score of about 16 to 1800, it's over. It's time to get out. Derrick Henry hit that number a year ago. Christian McCaffrey hit it this past season. All Derrick Henry's efficiency metrics last year, while he had a good year, all dropped off the side of the earth. He's about to completely crash. If anything happens up front, no Ronnie Stanley, no Linderbaum. If they lose anybody up front, Derrick Henry's toast. So I'm out. Christian McCaffrey, the last time he had this many touches in back-to-back seasons, to Wayne's point earlier, he missed the better part of 2 seasons.
Yeah.
The guy's over 27 years old, as Dutton already alluded to. That's not a lot of confidence. I think if you're taking McCaffrey, especially at his ADP, top 2-3 pick in most drafts, you better be handcuffing him with, Isaac Guerrero, the running back that they just drafted, at a little work. Keep an eye on what's going on with Eli Mitchell. I think he gets cut. And then there's Cody Schrader out of Mizzou. That guy went up and put up 200 total yards against UGA, one of the best defenses in the country. So you may want to insure yourself if you go and invest in McCaffrey early.
Just to correct you, Cody Schrader started at D2 Truman State and then went to Missouri. Let's get it right, sir.
I'm sorry. He put up 200 yards against Georgia while playing for Missouri, so that's what counts for me. Yeah. When I saw him at the Senior Bowl, he was wearing a Mizzou helmet, not a D2 helmet. Sorry.
He should have been wearing a D2 helmet, as a matter of fact. All right, let's move over to wide receivers. And I already took a peek at Jeff's, and obviously I've seen your two. And here's the one place we could pretty much all agree. I think especially the top of the list, the wide receivers are pretty much standard the same. So I think I haven't started yet. I'm going to start with my number one, and it's probably nobody's surprise because three of us are of the same number one. But it's CD Lamb. Last year he was just, I mean, he gets to run the ball every now and then, and he's efficient when he does the little end aroundy thing that he does. And they're going to be scoring 45 points to win games. So CD Lamb's going to have a great year. Dutton, you already touched on it. Who's your number one?
Jamar Chase. I mean, they were neck and neck, and I went with Jamar Chase just for the big play. I think he's going to have more big plays than Lamb. I think Jamar Chase has, 3 or 4 50-plus yard touchdowns. He has 1, 2. That's why I went with Jamar Chase.
Faith?
Yeah, I got CD Lamb for basically all the same reasons that you mentioned and Jeff mentioned earlier with Dak. So yeah, CD Lamb is my number one.
And no surprise here, Jeff. Who's your number one?
I already spilled the beans earlier. CD Lamb. I think we beat that one to death.
Yeah. So if we just jump right to it, my number two, I have Jamar Chase. Then I went Tyreek Hill. I have Amon-Ra at number 4, and I have Justin Jefferson at number 5. Nothing to do with Justin Jefferson. I'm sure he winds up in the top 3, but when you got Sam Darnold and a rookie as your guys, I'm going to be a little hesitant going into the season. We'll see how he lands. Fee, who's your 2 through 5?
I got Tyreek Hill at 2, Jamar Chase at 3, Justin Jefferson at 4, and Amon-Ra at 5.
Dutton.
CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra.
And Jeff.
So through 5, Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Drake London, Puka Nacua.
I love Nacua.
A little off the reservation here.
I don't think Nacua is that far off, and I think Drake London's a stud, especially with an actual quarterback. We're going to actually see what this guy could do, so I'm excited for it. And wide receivers, man, like the top 3, I've pretty much been the top 3, and there's always that room for someone to sneak in there, so why not Drake London?
Well, exactly. And if Kirk Cousins is going to be QB6, somebody's going to have to step up and catch a bunch of passes, right? So Why isn't it London? It's London, Pitts, and then a bunch of just Jags. So there you go.
Who did they get this year? They picked up
Darnell Mooney and Rondale Moore.
Rondale Moore, that was the other one. I remembered Mooney. I knew they picked up someone else. Okay, moving on to 6 through 12 for me. I have a lot of question marks if you guys look at the chart. I have Puka at number 6. I have Garrett Wilson at number 7. AJ Brown at 8. Olave at 9. I'm going very high on Michael Pittman because in my eyes, I know I'm the low man on Anthony Richardson, but everyone seems to have him as the high man. So if he's the high man, he's throwing the ball a ton to Michael Pittman, who has gotten better and better every year. And then I lost my spot. Oh, and then I have Marvin Harrison Jr. And then at number 12, I had 5 names because I can't really decide who it is. I didn't know what to do about the Debo Ayuk situation. The Nico Collins and Tank Dell, I love them both, but now Diggs is there and Dalton Schultz is still gonna, I'm not saying he's a threat, but he's still gonna see passes. And then Mike Evans is, I just don't. Dutton, you said the other day, I don't believe Mike Evans could do what he did last year at his age, but as Dutton said, nobody believed he could do what he did last year at his age, and he did it. So I just threw a whole bunch of names out there into the wind. Fee, round us out with your 6 through 12.
All right. At 6, I have AJ Brown. 7 is Garrett Wilson. 8, I have Puka. 9, Marvin Harrison. 10, Drake London. 11, Olave, and Ayuk at 12.
And Dutton.
AJ Brown, Puka, Nico Collins. I think somebody has to step up and become the alpha dog there, and I want him to do it. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Marvin Harris Jr., Mike Evans, because Mayfield needs to find somebody in the red zone. Mike Evans is amazing in the red zone. He still can high point a ball, amazing. And I think if he gets over 1,000 yards this year, he breaks Jerry Rice's record, right? Because I think he tied with Jerry Rice for most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah.
I'm going to look it up while we're looking at the other one. I mean, that's a pretty impressive record. So I'm going Mike Evans at 12.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Evans is heading to the Hall of Fame. It's just at some point, Father Time's got to catch up to him. Before we go to Jeff, just do our composite. You heard all the same names from us, so it's not much of a surprise here. But the 3 and out wide receiver fantasy football rankings top 12 are CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, AJ Brown, Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, Olave, Nico Collins did make it, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then Mike Evans and Debo and Ayuk all tied in points because of the 3 of us. So there's that tie at number 12. Jeff, you have a lot of the same names. There's one missing that we could talk about after you close out yours. So go ahead.
Sure. So I've got Jamar Chase at 6. I got Olave 7, Amon-Ra at 8, Michael Pittman at 9, AJ Brown 10, Marvin Harrison 11, and Brandon Ayuk at 12.
So a lot of the same names, but no Garrett Wilson.
No Garrett Wilson. Yep.
He's literally 13. I clicked to the next page just to see who I had next. And yeah, he's actually sitting there at 13. The only thing with Garrett Wilson is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He's coming off the Achilles. The difference between Cousins and Rodgers is Rodgers is a couple of years older, and he really relies on his ability to move around in the pocket to extend plays and create time, especially for some of those more highlight reel type plays. We see him, hucking those long balls up to people, where just kind of wears the defense down over the course of a play and somebody gets open. I don't know if those plays are going to exist like they have in the past. We might need to really get used to seeing Aaron Rodgers in 3 to 5 step drops, taking more sacks than we're used to, and hopefully getting rid of the ball a little bit quicker by the midpoint of the season and later. Garrett Wilson will still get his numbers, but man, how Rodgers moves around is going to really dictate how high Wilson goes this year.
Yeah, that's fair. I have Aaron Rodgers and Scott Fishbowl. I just hope he doesn't go to Egypt to eat mushrooms halfway through the season like he did at training camp.
No problem.
Evans has had yard seasons. If he does it this year, he will tie Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice had 11.
And what was the deal Mike Evans signed? How many years? It was a 2 years, so he's going to hang around and try to break it. That's crazy that Jerry Rice, because Travis Kelce broke some playoff record of Jerry Rice last year. I mean, you just never thought you'd hear Jerry Rice record broken. Like he was just
still not going to break his total touchdowns, though.
He has so many records. A few will fall, but not the big ones.
Yeah. I mean, even when Randy Moss broke his single season one, you look at his single season touchdown record was in the strike season, right? It was like 11 games that the guy was nuts. It makes no sense. Speaking of old guys that break records, let's move on to tight ends. And then let's see. Well, Dutton, we'll start with you. Who's your number 1 tight end?
Number 1 tight end. Let me find it on my spreadsheet here because I don't remember. Hold on. There it is. I am going with Miss Sam Laporta of the Detroit Lions.
Fee?
Yeah, I got Laporta also at number 1.
I'm just going to say this. I think Laporta is probably the number 1, but as long as 8-7 steps on the football field, he's my number 1. I'm sorry. I had him last year.
I saw Wayne. He's your number 1. Is he your number 1?
He's my number 13. He's my number 22. He's my number 15. But yeah, Travis Kelce is the man. But he'll just be number 1 until, and I like I said, I had him last year in 2 leagues, so I know that the decline it began. But maybe, like Dutton said earlier with Mahomes, he has some better receivers, so it's not all Kelce this year. So maybe he comes back a little bit, but it's hard to argue against Laporta. Jeff, who do you have?
I've got Laporta. We're all there. It's actually Laporta being at 1 that pushed Amon-Ra down a little bit at wide receiver. The expectation here is that if Jameson Williams really does break out and we start to see some of that upside we expected a couple of years ago, he'll be a Deshaun Jackson type player. 3 for 100 and a touchdown is kind of in the wheelhouse, or
nothing.
0 for 0 and 0. But if teams have to go into, say, cover 2 or cover 4, and they have to cover the boundary more frequently to take JMO away and to worry about Amon-Ra, it's going to leave a lot of the middle of the field open, and Laporta's just going to eat people alive and nickel and dime them with first downs.
Yeah. And he's, Goff, like we said, Goff isn't going to be great, but he's still going to be Goff. And he's proved to be a reliable target as a rookie. So it's hard to go against him in his second year. Dutton, I think we started with you. So give us 2 through 5.
I said it before. I had Travis Kelce as my next one, then McBride, Andrews, Kincaid, and Dallas Goddard.
I have all the same as Dutton, except for I have Travis. I have George Kittle after Kincaid.
Gotcha. I went Laporta at number 2, obviously, because I have Kelce at number 1. And then I have Kincaid number 3 because of the target situation that we talked about earlier. I have Mark Andrews at number 4 and Kyle Pitts at number 5. We could talk about Trey McBride in a little bit because I have no faith in him. Jeff.
All right. So I've got Dalton Kincaid at 2, Kyle Pitts at 3, Kelce at 4, Mandrews at 5.
Mandrews. I like it. So Jeff and I don't have Trey McBride in the top 5. Do you want to talk about it or you want me to talk about it?
I'll tell you what, how about you start it out and I'll fill in whatever gaps you leave behind.
Okay. Trey McBride was a target machine last year. They have this guy, Marvin Harrison Jr., that they invested very highly in. Kyler Murray could play a whole season. He probably won't play a whole season. And the thing that was weird is Trey McBride's best games were with Josh Dobbs. And when when Murray came back, McBride did have a couple good games, but they weren't. Remember, he had like some 10 reception games, and they were all with Dobbs because Dobbs couldn't go the field, and he was just littering Trey McBride. And so now that Kyler Murray's there, Josh Dobbs is a 49er. Is he a 49er? I think
he's
he
a 49er.
Yeah, is a 49er. Yeah. So I don't think McBride is going to be bad. I just don't see him as high as everyone else has him. Jeff.
When it comes to McBride, I want to be very clear. He was the tight end prospect the season he came out a couple of years ago at Colorado State. He was the focal point of the offense. Everything went through him. I had a George Kittle type comp on him. Love the player. I think he's got tremendous upside, great for dynasty. Kyler Murray has not shown a propensity for supporting more than one fantasy asset in any given season. He's very good at locking into a player, and in this case, he likes the perimeter. He likes those shifty guys that run quick routes. He likes those guys that can get downfield in a hurry. Go back to his Oklahoma days, and you can see that. Marvin Harrison and he are going to be locked in. I expect McBride to get plenty of looks, but it's going to be schemed up, designed up. They're going to have to try and force balls over to him. It's not going to be natural for Kyler, so I've got McBride much lower than consensus.
Yeah. Do you want to give us your 2 through 5? Oh, you did already. What am I talking about? Let's move back to Dutton.
They're not very memorable, so
yeah. Let's move back. I got sidetracked by the McBride. I got all pumped up. Let's go back to Dutton and close out your tight end rankings with everyone left after Goddard was the last one you gave us.
You're gonna have to give me 1 second just because my spreadsheet was disappearing. So hold on 1 second. I'm ready. In 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
It always happens to me at work every time.
It didn't work. I thought.
There, I'll go.
Yeah,
go ahead. Thank you.
Yes. So after I had Kincaid and then George Kittle, and then after that I have Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, Dallas Goddard, Njoku, Brock Bowers, and Ferguson.
Dutton, you back?
No, go, and then I'll be ready.
Okay, so after Pitts was my number 5. I have McBride. I have Evan Ingram. I had to go Brock Bowers over Kittle, but I don't know if I believe that, but I had to go Brock Bowers. And then at number 10, I said throw a dart, and I listed about 6 names because I really think these next guys are all the same, and I think it's Goddard, Njoku, and I like Freiermuth and Ferguson. Cole Kmet, I don't know if I believe in just yet. I don't know. There's so many more weapons there this year, but he was a great player last year. So it's tough for me to go in on him. All right, Dutton, are we back?
Yeah, I'm back. I think I finished with, I told you, Kincaid, Goddard. So then I have Kittle, Njoku, Pitts, Ingram, and I don't really have 2 more after that. So I'm going to throw in Dalton Schultz and Pat Freiermuth because they are targets in the red zone, and I think the Steelers are going to rely on him as they figure out their quarterback situation.
Yeah, yeah, and we all have Ingram in there. Jeff, I'm curious of what you say, but the guy talk about a target machine. I think he had 143 targets last year, and people sleep on that when you're a tight end. How many targets that actually is for a tight end? Anyway, before we get to Jeff, let's do our composite 3 and out tight end 2024 fantasy football rankings. Number 1, Sam Laporta. Number 2, Travis Kelce. McBride did come in at number 3 against my best wishes. Mark Andrews at number 4, Kincaid at number 5, Pitts number 6, Kittle number 7, Ingram number 8, Goddard number 9, Njoku number 10, Bowers number 11, and Ferguson was number 12. Jeff, take us home.
Number 6, Evan Ingram. You mentioned the targets already. I already had him queued up. I was like, oh yeah, there you go. Number 7, I'm going with the rookie Brock Bowers. I don't call him a tight end. I call him an offensive weapon. Expect him to get handoffs. So if you're in a points per carry league, that's a tight end with enhanced value. After that, that's where McBride falls at 8, Kittle at 9, and then Met Henry Freiermuth. And I've got Henry in there because Jacoby Brissett's there. There's no perimeter receivers. Henry can catch touchdowns. It's once you get past tight end about 8 or 9, it's really the guy from that point down to 17. It's the same player.
Yeah.
So if you're missing that early tight end, punt and just grab a couple of them and see who pans out. Because at the end of the day, the position after those first 8 or 9, it gets really murky with guys that get hurt, guys in weird situations. Njoku was picked a couple of times in here. That guy got all of his production with Flacco. Is he going to do it with Deshaun Watson? It's hard to project that. So for me, like, he falls into that tight end 2 category, 14, 15, 16. We really need to see more of him being quarterback proof, and we just haven't seen that in his career.
Yeah, yeah. I really like these lists. I like that we're jumping on it early this year. We didn't jump on it until like August last year. I'm going to put you all on the spot. Ready? Fee.
I like being on the spot.
Great.
Who's great? Who's the someone we haven't talked about? Who's a quarterback you're interested in seeing that you would be willing to take a flyer on this year? Go, Fee.
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. Dutton.
Caleb Williams.
Oh. No, that was Jeff's. Jeff, was that yours?
Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah.
I was gonna call Fee a coward, and then Dutton went and took mine.
Well, mine's tough because mine is Jaden Daniels, but Fee did have him in there at number 12. But I am excited about to see what he could do. And it's like you both, like a couple of you touched on that, he does have the weapons to do it. So I'm kind of at a loss because that's my guy. But man, I guess Caleb Williams, you got to watch him. I'll jump on that bandwagon because he's got the weapons to succeed, right? Like he's got to succeed. And if he doesn't,
a rule where you can't like pick the same guy as somebody else. Like, don't we all have to have a unique guy here, Wayne? You're playing copycats here. You don't have another guy.
I mean, have you seen the quarterback play in the NFL the past few years? Okay, I'll go resurrection. I'll throw Derek Carr in there. I almost said David Carr. I should always say David Carr because Derek Carr resurrects his career and finds Olave. Somehow Kamara stays on his feet this year. I don't know. You wanted me to throw out a name. That's a dart I would throw.
I'll tell you what. Validate your Derek Carr pick because you're a good sport. Clint Kubiak's running that offense. You're bringing the McVay Shanahan offense down to New Orleans. They've got a pass catching running back who can also go between the tackles. You've got a premium number 1 in Olave. Juwan Johnson, when he healthy, a great move tight end. Rashid Shaheed can take you deep. And don't forget about A.T. Perry as a viable third option, kind of like a Juwan Jennings type in San Francisco. Derek Carr is a smart quarterback, and this is a very friendly offense for quarterbacks. We've seen really bad players like Nick Mullins and some of these guys do well. Yeah. Guess what? Derek Carr is in for a pretty decent season. I'm actually pretty bullish on him, and I think it's a great pick.
Nice. That's what I meant to say from the start, of course. Fee or Dutton,
yeah.
You first. Dutton, a running back you're willing to throw a dart on.
Running back, I'm willing to throw a dart on. I think somebody mentioned, it might have been Jeff, Rachaad White, just because he's solid, and the Bucs are going to rely on him. If Baker Mayfield, like Jeff said, is going to have a good year, I think Rachaad White has to have a good year because that opens up Baker Mayfield being allowed to throw the ball a little bit more.
I love Rashad White. I had him in 3 leagues last year. Fee, who's your surprise?
Am I allowed to say 2 guys or no?
Sure. Just don't take mine.
You know what? I'll just go with one then. Devin Singletary intrigues me, and you can call that a homer pick if you like. But I don't know. I think that he's in a good situation with not really too much behind him to kind of give him a run for his money. So I like Singletary's spot on the Giants.
Singletary is one of my, like, he's not the guy I'm going to say, but he was definitely one of the guys I would consider for that. Jeff, I'll let you go first because I got 2, and I think you probably would have to take one of them.
I mean, I feel like I'm actually going to go wildly contrarian here. I hope you don't have this guy, but I'm staying Dolphins field. I'm going to go with Jalen Wright, the rookie running back out of Tennessee. Devon Achane, though I have him ranked very highly, it's assuming he plays quite a few games. He hasn't shown a propensity for health in his one season. Hey, you never know. Running backs get hurt, right? More than any other position. Raheem Mostert's 30 some odd years old. The workload says he should still be good, but he hasn't been healthy much either. Jalen Wright's going to be there. He's going to mix in. The guy has got absolutely blistering 4.3 speed. He does really well after contact. He led the nation last year from Tennessee in yards after contact. The guy's 5'11", about 220. He's got the build. He's got the speed. There's no reason why this guy can't step in and make an impact at some point in the fantasy season.
I like it.
And by the way, we skipped on the quarterback. We never did a quarterback for me. By the way,
we
I
didn't?
validated your pick, but I didn't actually pick a guy.
Oh, I thought you said you were Caleb Williams
too.
I thought you were Caleb Williams.
No, well, I can't take what he took.
Okay, yeah, then you go quarterback. You go quarterback. That was my bad. I thought you were Caleb Williams.
Jeez, host duties over here. No, I'm going to go with Bryce Young at quarterback. So Bryce Young, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier. I have him at 12. It's a flyer because you can get him so late in your draft. Yeah. It allows you to create a build where you can really heavily prioritize wide receiver, running back, tight end, and just absolutely load up on studs. And you can get Bryce Young for free. He's got Deontay Johnson as the number 1. He will be the one. He's going to be peppered with targets. Expect 140 to 150 targets going to Deontay. Xavier Leggett is going to be all over the middle of the field, and then they're going to have multiple tight ends and or Thielen all rotating out. You're not going to see as much Jonathan Brooks as people would lead you to believe. This is going to be a pass-first offense because Chuba Hubbard ain't it. Give me some Bryce Young for free.
I like it. Okay, now we're caught up, so we're going to go to wide receiver. Oh, no, my guys. I had Najee Harris and Nick Chubb. Does Nick Chubb count as, like, I feel like he's going to be forgotten. He may not start the first couple weeks of the season, but if you're talking fantasy and you get a healthy Nick Chubb down the playoff stretch, like, I feel like people are going to sleep on him because of the injury, obviously, right? So does that count as a guy, or is that just not? Well, if not, then I'm going Najee Harris. What's that?
Okay. I don't know. I looked at that knee. I watched it happen. It was pretty nasty. I don't know if he's back for quite some time. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what,
I can add some color to that if you like.
Yeah.
So it's his second. The first one was done while at Georgia, and that was it was a clean ACL at the time. Went through. They did some cleanup. He had a little meniscus injury later on. All of that's been good to go. He was obviously healthy for the beginning of his career. The nasty knee injury we saw on Monday Night Football, everybody thought it was going to be the Devil's Triad, taking out all 3 ligaments, and that was all the talk. Turns out it was a clean ACL. There was no meniscus damage. There was no structural damage to any of the other ligaments. It was just an ACL. I fully expect him to make a 100% return. There was a second procedure that people are going to talk about. Oh, they went in twice. No, the second procedure was to clean up some scar tissue from the original surgery. Nick Chubb is already squatting over 600 pounds on Twitter right now. The guy can move. He can squat. I am not worried about Nick Chubb right now. He may not be there week 1 for you, but if you draft him 8th, 9th, 10th round, about where he's going, depending on your league settings.
Yeah.
That he could end up being an RB1. I haven't placed him there yet, but man, I am very, very bullish on Nick Chubb, especially at his cost.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. It's just he's going so low. You got to grab him. Fee, wide receiver, you'd be willing to throw a dart at?
Yeah. So the thing about wide receivers is there's a lot of them. And we've mentioned a whole lot of guys like, Jeff just talked about Deontay Johnson having 150 targets. I talked about Terry McLaurin earlier. Jeff talked about Godwin. I think the guy I'm going to go with is George Pickens. And part of the reason is because, well, Deontay Johnson isn't there anymore, but also between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, I feel like not that I don't think it matters who it's going to be. I think George Pickens is going to have a pretty solid year in Pittsburgh.
Dutton.
I'm very shocked, almost disappointed that my friend Fiamano did not say the name I'm about to say. They drafted him because Daniel Jones has to prove that he can throw to somebody.
That's mine.
Neighbors.
I already went with my homer pick with Singletary.
All right, but I'm just saying, there's a reason that they picked Malik Neighbors. It's to see if Daniel Jones knows how to throw the ball. So let's see it.
All right.
Yeah, no, that's who I was going to say. But can I throw Tank Dell into the mix? Because if we're all going to have a homer pick, then I'm going Tank Dell. Dutton had Rashad White. I'm going Tank Dell. Jeff.
I love Tank Dell, by the way. That's great. When I was doing the scouting work on him, by the way, my comp was Steve Smith. I think he's got that kind of work, and he's going to be the number one for Houston. So we'll just put that out there. The guy I'm going with, and we're going deep. I figure a lot of these guys are kind of in the top half of the draft. I'm going to go in the bottom half. I know we already talked about Pickens. Give me Steelers wide receiver Roman Wilson. Roman Wilson is one of these grinder type guys. I got to put my own eyes on him at the Senior Bowl. I got to see him obviously with all this film at Michigan. Not a high volume passing offense. You can't hold the counting stats against him, but all of his efficiency numbers, yards per route run, air yards, intended air yards, catch rates, separation rates, all of this stuff, every metric puts him in the top 3 of the guys drafted this season. He's absolutely incredible. If you were able to watch the Senior Bowl practices on NFL Network, nobody could cover this guy. For the first day and a half, he made every guy there look completely foolish. He ended up getting popped on a play he shouldn't have been hit on, banged up his shoulder. They pulled him out of practice. He was fine, but as a precaution, he didn't come back or play in the game. That's why no one heard about him after the second day of practice. The kid can absolutely ball. He's lightning quick in the short area. He can take deep. Don't be shocked if this guy breaks out as a rookie. And I'm not saying Puka Nacua style, but if he comes out and gives you 75 to 80 catches and you're taking him in round 14, you just won.
I also sniped him from you in Scott Fishbowl. But I had to.
I'm trying not to flip you off on your own show right now. Yeah.
But I had already taken Russell Wilson. I told you when it was the R. Wilson combo. It wrote itself. I had no
It's
choice.
my own fault. I should have done it the year. I got cute and it bit me in the butt. I should have taken him when I thought I was going to take him. I was like, nah, I've got one more round here. I screwed up. That's on me. You know what? He's got to do well for you. I'm mad about it. and Wayne joined the Superman division in the Scott Fish Bowl because I was there, and I was picking 12, which was already set. He decided to hop into the 10 spot just so he could snipe me every other round. Because we talk about players, he already knows what I'm looking at. So I knew full well what he was doing. It was dirty.
Cheating.
Dirty move.
No, yeah. That was the only. You sniped me like 3 times. That was the only guy I took of yours. But yeah, so that's all. We're not going to do tight end because there is no dark horse. I don't want to end the show with giving everyone a headache trying to think.
You don't want to talk about Hunter Henry and how Jacoby Brissett is going to make Hunter Henry a top tight end?
Probably.
Jeff already told him.
Yeah, Jeff already said that.
I was there, man. You want to get? I can give you a deep tight end if you want to get a little crazy. But
I hope it's show favorite Obi-Wan Okonkwo.
I'm actually going back to the Giants well here. I think teams are going to key up on Neighbors, and they're going to try and take him away. Give me the Penn State product, Theo Johnson. This kid can run. He can move. Imagine if Mike Gesicki could block. The guy can move vertically. He can run around. Another guy that was at the Senior Bowl, had a chance to put my own eyes on him and see how he moves. And the guy looks like an NFL tight end. And really love the hands. Drew Allar at Penn State was not very good, so we can get to see a lot of Johnson. But he's got the traits and the skills that translate well.
Best tight end.
Waller out of the way. I mean, he could be. And so, but again, I like to, when we talk about these guys, these dark horse guys, I'm like, who's a guy you can get at the end of your draft, right? Who's free? Theo Johnson is about as free as it gets. You're probably getting him around 22 if you're even going that deep.
Yeah.
Guys, you better be careful. All this Giants talk is really making me like optimistic. I don't know.
They're still going to stink. No,
not
Daniel
so good
Jones
for
still
my-
sucks. Sorry.
Yeah, right. You might have Malik,
good
but
for me.
you're gonna find out very quick
Yeah.
that there's a reason that they drafted him to prove that Daniel Jones wasn't good.
All right. Well, that's gonna.
I had a 4th round grade on Daniel Jones when he came out. Sorry.
And he went, yeah, way earlier than that.
Yeah, listen, I'm no GM. I don't know.
They
Mhm.
I
aren't.
should have been.
Well, I do know he sucks. So I mean,
Aren't they on Hard Knocks? Am I crazy? Giants are on Hard
No, they
Knocks.
are.
They are. It's
it was the
excellent. I've
preseason
really enjoyed
version.
it.
It actually, the
whatever
first,
that was.
yeah, the one I saw was the first episode was really good because it gave you a lot of deep coverage of the off season and what I mean. They're literally playing fantasy football, but for real. Like, well, we could take Josh Jacobs or we could take Devin Singletary, but we got to worry about the wear and tear on his knees and how much money. I mean, it was fascinating to watch.
That's pretty cool. Maybe I'll watch it. I probably.
Yeah, if you haven't watched it, you should definitely turn that one
it's
on
good.
because of all the Hard Knocks like episodes or seasons and all that. The off-season Giants one has been my favorite so far because you do get that real peek behind the curtain. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, you have to.
All right. I could dig that. I could dig that. Anything Giants, though, it hurts my eyes, but I'll try my best. Dutton, Fee, before we go, anything to add?
Enjoy the rest of your summer because it's gonna be over quickly.
Yeah, mine's over. School. I'm back to school.
Yeah.
Back to school. First day
Yeah.
is Monday. I've been in meetings all week.
Jeff, anything to plug for the site?
Well, a couple things. Obviously, Jordan Vanek, he was on the show last season for Fee's birthday.
Yeah.
He's bringing all of his DFS content over and all the DraftKings stuff, all the wide receiver analysis he does is coming over. There's going to be some paywalled content, some free content. There's going to be all kinds of things going on there. And we're trying to fire up the Discord channel. So if you want to talk to him on Sunday mornings while you set your lineup, you'll have someone right there and really answering questions, helping people, hopefully get to win a bunch of money. So we've got that going on, which is pretty cool. And man, I'll tell you right now, if you're getting into your drafts and draft season's coming, check out gridironratings.com. We've got all the projections are up, they're on the site. And don't be afraid to take those dart throws. Get aggressive on those rookies, man. Every year, a few of them pop, and be the guy that gets yours late.
Nice.
Or gal.
And we'll take
guy
the,
or gal.
and we'll take the
Be
swag.
the
Jeff.
person.
We'll take the swag for sure.
Yeah.
We can rock
We'll have Gridiron Rating shirts on the show pretty soon.
the best of them. Trust us.
I gotta get you guys some 3 and out shirts that have like a little GR logo, kind of like a co-branded kind of thing. And I
Yes.
think we can help with something like that.
Hey, work on that. I need a hoodie.
Need a hoodie? All right, got it. Should I get it like embroidered with like your name and number of seasons?
No, just Good iron rating and 3 and out. It's fine. Whatever. It'll be fine.
Dutton's getting a Letterman jacket now.
Yes.
All the years that I've not won the title.
Yeah. We'll just put them right down the arm for you. Oh, it'll be great.
That's gonna be
I'll be
like
both
that
arms.
Cleveland Browns jersey with the name
With the-
that goes all the
quarter-
way to the legs.
Hey,
You know what I'm
easy
talking
over
about?
there. Easy over
Oh, we can send them the arms will just 12 feet long
there.
each.
Yeah,
We
all right.
can,
All right. Easy. Yeah, come on.
I'm here for Dutton championship making fun of.
I'm going to be in Raleigh, by the way.
Oh, well, I'll get my number from Wayne. Let me know. I'm around. I mean,
Yeah, man.
literally.
Well, we have to get a beer. I'll be downtown all week for an audio show, so we gotta get
Oh
up
yeah,
and,
for
and
sure.
hang out.
No, I can meet you somewhere. Absolutely.
Why don't we
Absolutely.
take
Sorry,
this,
we just hijacked the
as
end of
they
the
say
show
on my
here.
Zoom
Wayne, I'm
meetings,
sorry,
why don't we
us
take
out.
this offline, lovers? Everyone's enjoying your bromance blossoming, but we got a show to wrap up here.
You're the host. Take
I think
over.
everyone's enjoying this.
I was
I thought you already hit the button.
I
thought we
didn't
were
want to
ready.
interrupt. It was going so well. But anyway, thanks for joining us, Jeff. Thanks for jumping on. We'll be back in just about a month for our preseason special. Give us a like, give us a follow, go over to Gridiron Ratings and start researching your fantasy draft and go win some money. We'll see you next time.